What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Criterion Corner. This is a series on the YouTube channel where I go through and I select films from the Criterion collection that I feel like are worth talking about, taking some time to discuss and to look at in more detail. I really have a lot of fun doing this series. I feel like I've done a lot more A24 archive videos, so I wanted to watch something in the Criterion collection because I thought it would be fun to do another video. And the film I'm going to be talking about today is one that I really didn't know very much about, and I actually watched it on the Criterion channel app, and this was a really interesting film. I feel like it's not perfect. It's not a film that I overwhelmingly loved, but I feel like it's a film that you can definitely tell is way ahead of its time and was super important in the era that it was released. And the film I'm going to be talking about today is Daisies. Daisies is directed by Věra Chytilová. Two teenage girls, both named Marie, decide that since the world is spoiled, they will be spoiled as well. Accordingly, they embark on a series of destructive pranks in which they consume and destroy the world about them. This freewheeling madcap feminist farce was immediately banned by the Czech government. So this film was so fascinating because it really is, on the surface, just simply that. It's these two young girls who decide that they're fed up with the way that the world is going and the way that things are occurring in the country that they live in. And this is a Czech film, and this film, when it begins, the series of events into which these girls get involved in just becomes funnier and funnier. And you can tell that this was a film that's way ahead of its time and pushing its feminist message in a way that's so unique compared to a lot of movies that it's more about the dialogue. This film, there's some interesting dialogue sequences, but it's so much about what's occurring and how the girls in the film will often mock these very proper gentlemen that they're spending time with by doing these absolutely ridiculous things that get them thrown out of bars and social events. And then there's a lot of more intimate scenes between the two of them where they're just discussing things at their home. And this film definitely is not a 100% straightforward narrative where it kind of does jump you all over the place. But what's so interesting is the visual style and the cinematography of this film keeps you so immersed. There's these random color slates that'll be thrown in at specific periods in time. It'll jump to a color sequence, and it's really fascinating the way that this film was chose to be edited and spliced together. And I felt like the visual style is really what kept me immersed through the entire runtime. And then knowing that this film was banned from the country because of the message that it was trying to convey made it even more fascinating for me, because obviously this film was put out in 1966 in an era where women were treated very differently, and in a country like Czechoslovakia where women are perceived very differently anyway. It was fascinating to watch this come from a female filmmaker at this time, and I really respected that about this movie. I think both of our lead characters in this film, Marie, both of them are named Marie. They're both very charismatic. They're great actresses. They keep you engaged through the film, through their dialogue, and through bodily performances. Like when they're goofing around and stuff, there's a lot of subtlety in the humor, and it really was such a unique experience to watch this film. And I love movies that kind of subvert the normal expectations of what you assume is going to occur in a movie, and this film is really just a very unique work of art. And it's funny because you have sequences where the girls, I'm not sure if it ever explicitly says their age, but they look like they're somewhere between the ages of 19 to 23, probably somewhere in there. Even at moments they might look younger, but there's times where they go on these dates with these really older men and they're always goofing off on them. There's this one scene in particular I thought was hilarious where they're in this restaurant and they tell a waiter that they want to order this drink, and when the waiter comes back they already have the drinks under the table and they pull them up and set them down, and they're like, what are you bringing this to our table for? And there's a lot of great moments like that. And I think the third act sequence, which I don't want to give away, I thought it was incredibly powerful and really sort of poignant in what the film's overall message was going for without it being, too on the nose. And I thought that was really cool for 1966, because I imagine, knowing that this film was banned at that period of time in this country, that there were a lot of people that were probably seeking this out to watch it to try to understand what this filmmaker was going for. And I think it's cool to see films from this era in a new light today in 2022 and be like, okay, okay, this is so cool that someone was pushing for these ideals, and how much more difficult it would be for a person with those ideals to live in that time period. Because now, if you're a feminist, if you're someone who really supports women's rights or LGBTQ rights or just equal rights for everyone, you have a platform and you have people that will support you. Where in that time period, even something as simple as being a feminist in this country was something that could get you like your nose turned down on, or you could get verbally persecuted, or possibly even worse at that time period. And it's crazy to think that there was someone trying to get that message out then that was met with such harsh criticisms. And I just thought that that was fascinating about this movie. And I love the Criterion channel. I know I've talked about it before. A lot of times I'll talk on the Criterion Corner segment about physical copies I own. I don't own the physical copy of this. I know it's in like a collector's set that Criterion has, but if you are a fan of Criterion in general, the channel is a must. I think it's so great. They keep the collection really fresh and they are constantly uploading new things. I believe this was part of their like fan favorite archive, which is what drew me to it. It has a really short runtime. I believe it's only like an hour and 17 minutes. It's a really short film, and I think it's definitely worth your watch. Although I think there are moments that pulled me out a little bit where the sequences started to feel a little bit repetitive at moments. I think that the subject matter and the visual style is so worth checking out that this is 100% a movie in the collection that you should watch. So have you seen Daisies? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I think this movie is brilliant. I thought that it was hilarious. I thought the performances were great. And although I didn't think that the pacing was completely perfect, it was one that I'm really glad that I watched. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm constantly putting out new material and I look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.